Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So you want to have a better understanding of your hours of service and how to manage those hours. Well, let's talk about it. Now before we begin, please subscribe to this channel if you have not done so already. If you found this video to be very helpful, well, just subscribing will definitely help this channel's growth, and I'll appreciate it. Now let's dive right in. So on the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration, or the FMCSA's website, the hours of service is defined as the maximum amount of time drivers are permitted to be on duty, including drive time and specified numbers and length of rest periods to help ensure that the drivers stay awake and alert. All carriers and drivers who's operating any type of commercial vehicle must comply with this. So let's discuss the breakdown of your hours of service. Alright, so don't make fun of my handwriting. I try to write as clear as possible so that you guys can understand this. So the hours of service is broken down by your 14-hour clock, sometimes referred to as your work shift duty. All this means is that you have 14 hours in a day to complete your task for your shift. So once you sign into your ELD in the morning to start your pre-trip, that 14-hour clock starts ticking down. There is no way for you to manipulate this time. Once it starts, it cannot be stopped. So your next hours of service is your 11-hour clock, or your available drive and on-duty time. They both share this time slot. This can be manipulated. Just by going off duty, this will then stop that clock from ticking down. Drive time is considered you driving that vehicle 5 miles an hour or faster. You are considered driving, and it will come off of your 11-hour clock. On-time hours is anything else that's work-related other than driving, such as fueling, being loaded, getting unloaded, or maybe even a DOT inspection. But in these cases, you want to go on duty. However, always check with your company's policies and procedures, as they have different requirements to why you need to go on duty. So your next hours of service is your 30-minute rest break. Drivers who's been driving for about 8 hours must take a 30-minute lunch break. Now the break can be satisfied by going off duty, by going sleeper berth, or even on duty not driving. The key word is to not drive for 30 consecutive minutes. And your final hours of service that you have to manage is your 70-hour clock, or sometimes referred to as your cycle duty. And basically what this is the total time that you're spent driving or on duty during that work week. So in other words, drivers are limited to the numbers of hours that they could go on duty per cycle or per week. And there's other options that you could toggle between, such as PC or personal conveyance, where you are allowed to move your truck for personal use while you're off duty, so not work related. So you can go to restaurants, hotels, things of that nature. While you're on PC, you are considered off duty. Next is the yard move. Basically, yard moves if you're in a confined private property of a, let's say, a terminal or a distribution center as such. Rather than driving maybe like less than 5 miles an hour, you could move freely, and I believe it does not take away from your on-duty status. Sleeper berth just means that the driver is resting, not necessarily sleeping, in the sleeper berth compartment in the back of the tractor. Off duty is a little different, and that's when the driver is actually just relieved from all the work and all the responsibilities of that day. Now, before we move on, and you guys are still hanging out with me, and I have yet to confuse you, please do me a favor and hit the subscribe button and the thumbs up here, okay? I'll do appreciate that. But really, guys, I mean, a lot of this material and information can get overwhelming. All right, it did for me when I first started. It went over my head. It's just too many numbers to manage. And but after a while and became repetitive, then it started becoming more clearer for me, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you some examples that kind of helped me to understand this a lot better, and I really hope this helped you guys as well. Okay. Alright guys, for those that still having difficulties understanding that breakdown of your hours of service, let me show you an example that will hopefully clear up any type of confusion, okay? This example here helped me to understand hours of service, okay? So I hope this helps you guys too as well. So imagine you working for a retailer, okay? Don't make fun of my illustration, right? So let's say this is the retailer. Here's the front door, all right? We're gonna call this retailer Edmart, okay? Here's the logo, all right? At Edmart, you know, we got a 401 match, okay? We got great pay, vacations, all that. Dental, great place, happy place to work, right? Everybody has a smile. So the store operations for Edmart is between the hours of 9 a.m. and 9 p.m., right? So those are the hours that customers can go to Edmart and shop, okay? Because we have great deals, okay? So customers have 12 hours to do their shopping, okay? You as an employee, your scheduled is 9 a.m. and 5 p.m. Because you're an employee of the month, you get the prime hours, right? You go in relatively late and you leave pretty early, okay? So you have 8 hours to work in a 12-hour period. Because you work in 8 hours, you are entitled to a lunch break. If we do this consistently, okay, no days off, you didn't call out or anything like that, you know, at Edmart, we didn't ask you to come in on your day off, you know, no one called out to cover any shifts. You came in Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 5, 8 hours. Let's just say for 5 days, argument's sake, let's just say that's equivalent to 40 hours in a work week. You with me so far? Okay. So how does that translate into trucking? Well, so 14 hours that we talked about earlier, right? That's equivalent to that 12 hours there, because 14 hours is as far as I can go in working my shift, as is 12 hours it is as this employee. So if this employee were to ask, hey, can you stay to close? We'll pay you the overtime. Now you could work up to 12 hours, okay? But you're scheduled 8 hours. So that 12 hours is equivalent to 14 hours in a day. I can get past 14 hours. Now your work shift, this is where you're working. You're working, like, even though the store is open between 9 and 9, you're not working 9 to 9, you're working 9 to 5, or 8 hours. Well, that's where the 11 hours come into play, right? Let's put that there too, right? So that's equivalent to your 8 hours of work. So my 11 hours is equivalent to your 8 hours, because I'm working in those 11 hours, whether it's on duty or driving. I'm doing something in my shift that's work related. The lunch breaks, I still get a lunch. I'm human, just like you are, right? So my 30-minute is equivalent to your 30-minute. We need to eat too. So if you break this down, so for trucking, see this 5 days? For trucking, it's really, I'm gonna blow your mind right now. It's really an 8-day work week. We'll explain all that later. Okay, see how you're a 5-day work week? Well, trucking is theoretically an 8-day work week. And then we already know that we ended up working 70 hours for that week. So what do you guys thought about that example? I hope it cleared up any confusion. At least that example kind of helped me, so I figured it might help you guys as well. But if it did help you, please let me know by liking this video and subscribing, because then I will know for sure this helped you guys out. And to pay it forward by subscribing, by hitting a thumbs up, it will also help out this channel. Okay, so I did mention during that example that trucking is technically an 8-day work week. I'm not even going to touch that right now in this video, okay? I posted another video about recaps, which is probably going to spin your head just as much. You know, recaps is very, very, very difficult to understand, but with repetitiveness, it's not as bad as it may seem. But in that video, I'm going to then discuss an 8-day work week, not in this video. I want to conclude this video by discussing how to manage your hours of service. So here we go. Okay, so now you have the breakdown of your hours of service. Now, what do you do with that? Well, okay, so I'm not going to attempt to draw out a map of the United States. You already saw my last illustration, and there's no way I'm going to draw something so detailed as the map of the United States. Basically, let's just imagine this whiteboard is the United States. We pick up a load from New York City to Arizona, which is in a distance of 2,411 miles. So I just Googled that, right? So that's for a reference. The BOL, your paperwork, says that it needs to get to Arizona within 3 days. Just with that information alone, do you guys think that you will make it from New York City to Arizona in 3 days? Would you guys be on time, or will you guys be late? Yes or no? Write in the comments right now what your answer is and why. We're going to go over this right now together. After you lock in your answer to whether or not we'll be able to make it to Arizona in time or we'll be late. All the information that we know right now is that from New York City to Arizona is 2,411 miles. We need to figure that out, of how many days that's going to take, right? And how do we do that? So a little bit of math, right? So we're going to divide 2,411 by 65, assuming that's the amount, that's how fast you are driving. Most interstate highways will be 65 miles an hour. Most company trucks are going to be governed at 65. So 65 is your safe number. So I'm going to use a calculator here. We're looking at 37.09 hours. What does that translate into the days, right? So if we then divide 37.09 by 24, you're looking at 1.5 days to go from New York City to Arizona. We're good with that? But here's a problem. That's if I drive straight through. We already spent half of this video discussing your hours of service. So now you got to take hours of service into consideration. How many hours in a day are you allowed to drive? Well, I'm going to write that up here. 11 hours. I also have to take a 30-minute break. So you got to take that into consideration. Then you got to take into consideration traffic along the route and or constructions and detours. So, to play things simple, I find, rather than using all up of your 11 hours, we're going to say 9 hours of drive. Okay? Because 9 hours of drive will pretty much give you a safe buffer to work in your 30-minute lunch and
traffic or detours and things of that nature. So let's say you're really just driving 9 hours. Well, we already know that we're driving 65 miles an hour. So 65 miles an hour times 9 hours times 9 is 585 miles you can cover in one day. That'll get you up to here. Okay? You didn't even make it halfway through. So, assuming we stick with that formula, you could then drive 585 miles plus or minus. Maybe one day you could drive for longer, or maybe another day you could drive shorter. But let's keep this consistent. So we know that in a day we could drive approximately 585 miles. Well, we know we have to cover 2,411 miles. Well, we're going to divide 2,411 by the 585. That comes out to, I'll write it over here. I'll write it right underneath it. 4.12 days. So basically 4.5 days will it take you with your clock and time management to travel from New York City to Arizona. So 3 days? Unlikely. Okay? How many of you guys got that right? So it will definitely go over a day. So you'll have to let them know so that you're not going to be held accountable for that. So did you guys get that answer?
Can any or all information that I've given you today be overwhelming? 1,000%. But guys, think about it. We pretty much have it made, right? With technology and programming nowadays, your GPS is basically calculating all that for you. The programs that your company's using to route you has your hours of service in mind. So we have it pretty good, in this generation of trucking. But even so, you still need to understand how it works in order for you to manage your time wisely. You cannot rely on technology or your GPS or any of that stuff, right? You got to figure out a little bit. You got to put a little work into it. It's not just driving, guys, okay? All right, guys, before I end this video, I just want to discuss one more point, and that's how do we get our hours back, right? We spent this entire video discussing our hours of service and the breakdown of each one and how to utilize it and manage it, right? Well, how do we get those hours back? Well, there's a couple of ways. So when we shut down, right, for the night, you have to shut down for 10 hours to regain your 11 and 14. Okay? You start out with 11 and 14 hours. You shut down for 10 hours. You regain those 11 and 14 hours back. Keep in mind, when you shut down, it's based off the time zone your company is based out of. So if you're in the East Coast, but your company is based out of somewhere in California, it's the California's time zone when you reset. Another way to reset your hours is at the end of the week, right? When you're starting to deplete your 70-hour clock. There are actually two ways to reset that clock. One's a recap, which I'm not going to dive into in this video. Trust me. Okay, I'm going to spare you. Your head is probably spinning just off of this video alone. So I did post another video discussing recaps, okay? So go check that one out right after this one. The other way is a reset, sometimes referred to as a 34. And basically what that is that you shut down and you're off duty for 34 hours, a day and a half. You shut down and you get a whole new set of hours. A new 14, a new 11, and a new 70. So basically that's how you reset your hours back, and you do it all over again the following week. So other than that, I cover pretty much everything that has to do with managing your hours. and how to reset it. Alright guys, I'm going to end this video here. So if you found this video to be informative, or if you got anything out of this video, please thumbs up, like this video, and obviously please, if you haven't done so by now, subscribe to this channel. You know, if this video helped you guys, please subscribe and will help this channel's growth. I'll appreciate that. And let me know, guys, in the comments below if there's anything else that you want me to cover and try to explain to you as simple as possible. Until next time, guys, it's been a pleasure. Take care of yourselves.